What's going on, everybody? Happy Monday and welcome into another edition of the Fantasy Alarm MLB DFS Game Day Playbook live stream here. I was about to say preview show, but it's not a preview. It is the live stream here. 6:40 Eastern Standard Time is your start to the DraftKings 6-game main slate. We had a early slate kick off at 2:10. Early returns if you played the Milwaukee Brewers. Not so early returns if you played Freddie Peralta, that is. But we
played Pages.
yes. So elite return if you played Pedro Pages, which I'm sure nobody did. But we turn our attention to the 6-game main slate. Henry was the man on the playbook. You can find over at fantasyalarm.com right now with your All-Pro subscription that you can get on site right now. And that's perfect time with NFL back this Thursday. It's back Thursday. Then it is, in fact, back Friday. Then we have to push it to Sunday because we give college football Saturday. I'm sure the NFL will try to take that day as well eventually. Then Sunday football and then Monday football. So once Thursday comes around, football at 4 out of the 5 days. But nevertheless, we are still here delivering the goods when it comes to the MLB DFS main slates here on DraftKings. Henry, since you are the man that did the playbook today, 6 games over on DraftKings, what's your initial thoughts on how everything looks tonight?
Yeah, it's looking good. For 6 games, there's a lot of intriguing pitching, a lot of good pitching options that I like, which means like less offenses to choose from. But luckily, there's a couple offenses that I think are really nice to stack. So even with like the split like that, I think there's some really good ways to build some great lineups.
Let's build some great lineups. And we go position by position here if you're just tuning in for the first time. If you are just tuning in for the first time, make sure you like this video. Make sure you subscribe to the Fantasy Alarm YouTube channel. The support goes a long way. We appreciate it. Day in, day out, how you guys show up. DePrince already showing up. He's late. DePrince, this is the earliest you've ever been, bro. So you know what? This is early for you. You get a gold star at work if you were arriving at this time. So we haven't even talked about anything. We're going to get into it now. Again, position by position. We'll start with the pitching spot and something that you just talked about. It is a very good position from top to bottom, starting with Logan Gilbert and Garrett Cole. Pricing, smaller slate pricing obviously allows you to get a lot of what you want. Neither pitcher over 10K. Cole barely $9,000. Is there any reason to not like either of these two at the top?
No, I don't think there's any reason not to like the two at the top. Again, especially considering they're not over that 10K. Like, these aren't crazy prices. And yeah, I think Logan Gilbert's the best at the top, even at a position where I think there are a lot of good options. He's still the favorite. He's the only one on this slate that has been a top tier pitcher all season long. He's just been consistently great, coming off 6 shutout innings where he struck out 10 against the Rays. Like, he's been awesome. Even like his rough outing before that against the Dodgers, he gave up 6 runs. He still struck out 7. Like, he's been pitching awesome, facing Oakland in Oakland. I see no reason to shy away from this one.
Yeah, and same could be said kind of Garrett Cole. I do agree with you. I think Logan Gilbert is the better of the two. But
okay, for Garrett Cole, like facing a Texas team that's struggling, Garrett Cole still looked fantastic for a while now since coming back. Like, sure, he started a little slow, but we expected that. He's been great. No reason to be scared of this one either. I think both are top tier options.
When we drop down into the 8K tier, I think there's some interesting names. Osvaldo Bido has been pretty spectacular for about a month now. I mean, 5 starts made in the month of August. No more than 2 earned in any of the 5. No more than 6 hits. Only once over 3 hits in those 6 starts. The strikeouts have been pretty consistently 5+, 7 straight starts of 5+ strikeouts. Also hasn't gone over 6, but 5 to 6 has been where we've been living. Pretty good spot opposing Logan Gilbert, no?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Bido's been one of the best pitchers in baseball for the last month.
Yes.
Like, he has been fantastic. And it's a good spot. It's going against Seattle. I think the only reason I'm not like crazy jumping over it is because like he is priced up still. Like this price has come up for him. And I have a hard time, even with the results he's gotten recently, thinking that I want to pay more for him than Jared Jones or Joe Musgrove. Like this isn't an anti-Beto, but I just have a hard time paying 8,600 when I can get both of those pitchers below him, who I think carry more upside for a cheaper price.
So of the two, do you have a preference, or do you just like both of them between Jones and
I
Musgrove?
prefer Joe Musgrove. Jared Jones, the last outing was rough. I'm a little worried just like as the season's going on, he's slowing down a lot. So I'm kind of worried that maybe there's just fatigue. He hasn't been getting the strikeouts like he did early in the season. So I'm a little more concerned about that. Whereas Musgrove, the concern has been him getting healthy. And now he's starting to look healthy and starting to pitch great. And so I just trust him a little more. He has a longer track record, and I think he's been looking good recently. So I lean Musgrove, and he's also a cheaper option. But, I mean, obviously, Jared Jones has had a great season, and it's a pretty good spot here against the Cubs, too. So I do like both.
Yeah, and weatherman Kevin Roth over from Roto Grinders did note it's going to be cold in Chicago tonight and wind blowing in. So anytime you get wind blowing in at Wrigley, anytime the wind is going either direction in Wrigley, it's notable because it is a ballpark that plays to win. So I like. There's a couple things I like about Jones. One is cold and wind in is good for pitching, and two, making his return from the IL 83 pitches, so not like too limited at all. I do like your Musgrove call. Obviously, he'll have to go against a boatload of lefties, but another guy, third start back or fourth start back, 94 pitches. So he looks pretty good. A couple comments here. Po Degen birthday bong rip from Garden City, Colorado. John, happy birthday wherever you are. It is John's 55th birthday, I believe it was today. I might be off by a couple years, but happy birthday to John. Again, I said it on the pre-show, and I tweeted it too. Send him pictures of condiments on your food. He would like it nothing more on his birthday if you just sent a picture of a piece of bread with just a lot of mayonnaise on it, or if you're eating a hot dog, just some ketchup or mustard just on a plate. So as please send that to John and Pemba. It is his birthday. Rob saying hello to late, and that would be DePrince. Rob, hello. Late, hello. DePrince, hello. Po Degen sending out lineup we'll get to in a little bit. Back to pitching we go. Under $8,000, Zach Little, Brian Bayo, Tyler Holton's opening for Ty Madden, Jack Leiter. That's your 7K tier. I would say clearly it has been a very up and down Brian Bayo season. One of the most inconsistent pitchers this year, probably. What is your feelings on Bayo going into the start with the Mets?
Yeah, I don't love it just because the Mets can be a little scary, and the volatility that Bayo has been. Obviously, there's upside there. You see it. Like, he comes out and can pitch well, and he's had a pretty good second half overall, honestly. Like, he's had a lot of good outings, but he's also had some bad outings. He is my favorite if I'm going anywhere in the 7K tier. I don't really like any of the other options. So, like, if you want to choose one, it is Bayo, but I still don't love him here. The blow-up potential just scares me a lot.
Yeah, only thing I'd say, the blow potential is very real. Left-handed power has obviously been the bugaboo here for Brian Bayo. Lindor, Winker, they have some solid bats. No Mark Vientos in the lineup tonight for the Mets. Could be worth noting. Jose Iglesias is hitting 5th this evening. Like, that's not the scariest version of the Mets lineup. So, no. 7,200 for Bayo is worth a dart. Is there anybody else worth a consideration to you? And we do have a 4K pitcher that is going to pitch tonight. Not start. He's going to pitch.
Yeah, I don't really like the 4K pitcher.
No, I don't either.
The long relief. It's against San Diego. There's no upside. Even best case scenario, you're getting 10 points out of him. And that's best case scenario. There's a lot more likely worst case scenarios. But I do actually like Simeon Woods Richardson here. I think 6,500 is just way too cheap. especially going against the Rays. Again, a team we've kind of been happy to attack recently. They've been pretty bad. And look, there's a lot of volatility here too. He's been a guy who's been like good start, bad start, good start, bad start, back and forth. But that's still a lot of good starts. And so against a bad team for 6,500, I might be willing to take the risk that he goes out there and gives another good start against this Rays offense.
In a really good pitching environment too in Tampa Bay, like really, really good pitching spot. So, yeah, I think Wood Richardson stands alone, honestly, in this tier. Only reason I mentioned Ty Madden is because he's $4,000. I do think it's just always worth mentioning. Yeah.
If you really want to stack your offense, you're making a Judge Soto lineup and
Bingo.
there's no other way you can afford it. Sure, because you might be able to make enough points elsewhere that getting that 10 points from Ty Madden, it works out. You can build a lineup that way that wins. But understand that you're not going to probably get much more than 10 points, and likely it'll be less.
That is exactly the like lineup you're building, right? Like you're getting to Judge Soto. That is your specific pitcher. Like you need a 4K pitcher to comfortably build out the rest of your line. Let's go to catcher. Shea Langoliers, 4,500. Cal Raleigh, 45 or 44 on the road. Austin Wells, my petition on Twitter will never end about him being the full-time catcher. He is once again hitting fourth tonight. Connor Wong, 39. Kyle Higashioka, 37. Like, what is your take on the top of the catcher position? Or are you largely ignoring it and just punting?
I mean, I'm probably ignoring it and punting. Again, I love what Wells has been doing and going against Leiter. Again, Yankees are definitely my favorite stack today. I don't think Jack Leiter is ready to be a major league pitcher, and I'm scared of what the Yankees could do to him. But most likely, I still I can't pay 4,300 if I'm building much of the rest of a Yankees lineup. So I'm probably going to go cheaper on catcher.
Where are we going?
I think some names that come out. Obviously, if you're not going Musgrove, Jake Rogers at batting ninth, he provides a little something. I also don't hate Miguel Amaya here.
He's been good.
600 batting ninth against Jones. Again, it's cheap. It's not the best matchup you want, but man, he's been crushing the ball. And we're talking about needing somewhere to punt. I'm going to take the catcher who has actually been doing a little damage, and there aren't many of them. So why not go to the one who has actually been doing it?
I mean, dude, Jared Jones, for what it's worth, against right-handed bats this year, I mean, 195 ISO allowed. He allows home runs.
Yeah.
If Amaya puts enough into one where there's no wind blowing during his at bat, I mean, he could leave the yard. So I think it's a very sound strategy. Same thing kind of falls in line with Christian Vasquez. I know he has kind of slowed down. He was really, really hot at $2,800. Now he has slowed down a little bit. I think you can play either of them. Don't hate your Rogers call. Righties have been given Musgrove a lot more issues than lefties this year.
Exactly.
So yeah, I like that shout as well. First base, we go. Weird slate where we don't have 7,000 Shohei Ohtani or others top tier first baseman price range. Pete Alonso tops list. Brandon Lau 51. Those are your only 5K and up first baseman. So let's just group the 4K tier with them. Who is your favorite 4K and up first baseman?
It's probably Torkelson. Again, I talked up Musgrove, and now I'm talking my second Tiger here. But this is mostly I don't really like this top tier of first base. I just don't think there's a lot of great options. Like Casas hasn't been great. Pete Alonso provides some power, but he's so high priced compared to the rest of these guys. I like what Spencer Torkelson has been doing since his return. He's looked good. He provides the power. We talk about Musgrove struggling against righties. So, if you aren't playing Musgrove, I think this top end, he is my favorite bat. Yeah,
I mean, I largely agree. I don't hate Luis Arias, but it's obviously low floor. I don't know. San Diego has now they just activated and officially inserted Fernando Tatis. He's hitting second tonight. So some added depth and run scoring opportunities for Arias hitting first. But such a
Padres today.
Yeah, I think the Padres are great. If you consider how bad Ty Madden was in the minors, right? Ty Madden was awful in the minors, and he fortunately made his first start against the White Sox, right? So, the White Sox are making everyone look good. The Padres are not. The Padres are the second best record in baseball since the All-Star break. So, Oakland A's stack go against the grain, guys. We will talk some Oakland. I mean, like there's going against the grain, and then I'm not like against Oakland. We've seen Logan Gilbert get blown up against good teams. He got blown up against the Dodgers. He got blown up in Boston. And that's kind of been the record, right? He's susceptible on the road, much like the rest of the Seattle pitchers. So if you want to be contrarian with the A's, like it's fine. What's your take on that, Henry?
Yeah, I mean, I've been very pro Oakland recently, like very, very pro Oakland, but I'm very pro Logan Gilbert. I think struggle a little bit on the road, but on the road in Oakland is a little different than on the road a lot of other places. I don't know if he struggles. I just really like Logan Gilbert. I don't think you're crazy if you go contrarian. The Oakland offense has been doing a lot of good things recently. They're going to be cheap. It's not crazy. It's just not my favorite thing because I really trust Logan Gilbert.
I'd say, Christopher, I agree with basically everything Henry just said. I would probably stack against Gilbert before I stacked against Cole. And that's only because I think more highly of the A's offense than I do as Texas right now. Like Oakland's offense is actually clicking, where Texas, you look at their numbers, they're bottom 10 in every offensive category against both splits. So I really do think Gilbert would be like, of the two top tier pitchers, would be the guy you would stack against to be contrarian. Don't think you need to do it, but obviously there's a lot of power in the Oakland lineup. So we'll get to potentially more Oakland love later when we get to the outfield. That's usually where our love resides. Below $4,000, do we have any interest? I mean, Anthony Rizzo made his return. Had a good first game, 2 hits, a double, 2 runs, and RBI. They sent Ben Rice down because of that. Nathaniel Lowe's there. Rowdy Tellez is here. Like, what's your take on this lower tier first base?
Yeah, I really like Rowdy Tellez today. He's probably actually my favorite first base option, just because I don't love the top end. I already talked about not a lot of options I like. And Rowdy Tellez has been hitting the ball well and batting 5th here against Jameson Taillon, who struggled against lefties. Like one of his biggest problems this year has been power against lefties. And what is the only thing Rowdy Tellez provide? Power as a lefty bat. So I just think for 3,100. When there's not a lot I want to spend up for, he seems like a really good cheap option that has a great chance of returning good value.
Yeah, to your point, just nailed the analysis. Jameson Taillon against lefties, 191 ISO allowed versus righties, 130 ISO allowed. So there's a clear discrepancy in power, and I'm sure we'll talk about another Pirate lefty in a couple positions if you guys want to stay tuned to that one. Donovan Solano, 2,600. Only other name I'd throw out there. Hitting 3rd tonight, by the way. Interesting. But Arise is always on base. Tatis is very good at baseball. Could be some solid run producing opportunities for Donovan Solano at 2,600 hitting 3rd. Again, I know Holton's starting. Holton's a good reliever, but Ty Madden is their bulk man tonight. They used their lefty Herder last night. There was controversy on who was going to pitch. It was Herder. Tonight it's Solano, or tonight it's Madden. So Solano.
My only worry about that Solano is they are doing the opener, so he's batting 3rd, going to get that first at bat against Holton, and then Madden, the righty, comes in. Does Cronenworth just come in and replace him, and Solano gets 1 at bat? There's some risk there, but he's cheap enough. Maybe that doesn't happen. Maybe he does some damage in that first or second at bat that he gets. So agree with you, but be careful of the potentially him leaving the game early.
Agreed. I think we'd probably get the traditional 2 to 3 at bats and then almost guarantee unless he hits 2 home runs where Cronenworth comes in. But second base we go. Another position that just feels kind of empty. At the top, what's your take 4K and up again here at second base?
Yeah, there's one name that really sticks out to me, and it's Gleyber Torres. He's batting leadoff in this Yankees offense now, and since he's gone to this leadoff spot, it's been, I think, 15 games now where he's batting leadoff, and it's been excellent. He's been looking really good. and he's getting to bat in front of Judge and Soto. So like as that continues, again, like it's not numbers that are jumping off the page, but it's solid production, and you have the chance of really big production when you get a hit in front of those two guys. And again, it's in a position that I don't want to pay over 5K for Brandon Lowe. I don't want to pay 5K for Marcus Semien against Garrett Cole. So 4,200 for Gleyber Torres in this really good offense and a great matchup just seems like one of the best options here.
Yeah, and from what we've seen of Jack Leiter, for as talented as he can be or will be or whatever you think of him, he doesn't throw a lot of strikes. Gleyber's been really good at getting on base. Since going into that leadoff spot, that's been a really big uptick and I think reason that he has settled into the leadoff spot for the Yankees. And obviously, if he can't throw strikes to Gleyber and gets on, as you mentioned, there's two guys behind him that will certainly drive him in. Honestly,
Yes.
four, the way that Wells and Stanton are hitting. So there's a lot of upside with Gleyber. I agree. You're stacking Pirates. Nick Gonzalez leading off, I think, is a little bit interesting.
Sure.
Bogarts, not a lot of power these days, but he's running a little bit more. I think the Padres are very interesting.
Yeah, it's a good price. It's not crazy high for him. Someone who can go out there and produce in a good lineup.
What about below? Once we start talking value, like what's your take on the value tier?
Yeah, I think there's a couple intriguing names like Jorge Polanco, Jeff McNeil. I think both are decent options. Obviously, both batting sixth today. In lineups that have been hitting better. Polanco's looked really good over the last month or so. So it's cheap. Obviously, we like Vito and how he's been pitching. You see that last 10 games, 121. It has slowed down, but he has been mostly good over the second half. So I think those are both good. Edward Julian, again, batting lower down in that Minnesota lineup, but Zach Littell has not been pitching great. And I think Julian is still someone who does provide some upside for how cheap he is.
Yeah, let's see. Looking at some Zach Little stuff. Lefties, 184 ISO this year, 335 WOBA.
Yeah,
pretty good from the left side. I'd even throw Brooks Lee into that mix too with Julian. Brooks Lee came back, made his return 1 for 4. It wasn't great, but when Brooks Lee first burst onto the scene, we're like, whoa, this dude is never going back to the minors. And obviously he slowed down. Happens, right? We've seen it time and time again with prospects, but
there's talent in that bat for sure.
Yeah, he's definitely an elite prospect, 2,900 for Lee, switch hitter. So let's shift our attention to the third base position where Rafael Devers just doesn't look healthy, but he is still $5,900. Manny Machado definitely looks healthy. He is $5,400. He has been pretty incredible. So has Jazz Chisholm has been fairly incredible for the New York Yankees this year. Royce Lewis, that's your 5K and up tier. We can even just throw Isaac Paredes and Jose Iglesias into the mix. What do you make of this tier 4K and up?
Yeah, I like the top end of this tier much better than the last couple positions we've been talking about. I like a lot of these options. Obviously, I don't want to pay that price for Devers, who has been just looking injured and not great, but the rest of these options are all good. Machado's looked awesome. Jazz Chisholm has been awesome and love the Yankees, obviously. And Royce Lewis, I know he's been slow lately. He went on a big homer drought. But look, he homered in his last game, and we know that this guy can all of a sudden start homering every game and be a 6K player again real quick. So for 5K, I think the price has dropped enough that there's still so much upside here that he is super intriguing.
Yeah, that was a go-ahead home run, too. That was a 3-run home run to literally win the game. So definitely intrigued by the entire 5K and up tier at third. Not so much Paredes, Iglesias. I am just going to be interested in Junior Caminero sub 4K. I don't necessarily care. He just has more power than everyone else. And he's 3,000. I think Woods Richardson is also, I talked about this on the last time he pitched. He didn't make it out of the fifth. He allows a lot of fly balls, a lot. And that's very scary when you're facing someone like Caminero. So I think Caminero is good in tournaments. Is there anyone else below that you would give consideration to?
No, I don't think so. I think it gets ugly pretty quick, and not a lot of options that I love. Agree with your Caminero call out, and look, I talked up Simeon Woods Richardson too, but that's because he costs $65,000. So
Right.
like, I'm not afraid to take a bat like Caminero against him either. I think Miranda too, batting third against Littell, I think is a decent option. But yeah, below that, not a whole lot.
Good. We'll move on to shortstop, where good baseball players reside, like Francisco Lindor. That guy is really good at baseball if you want to play him. That's been the Brian Bayo nightmare, right? Lefty power. Corey Seager, wouldn't be surprised if Texas scored 2 runs and 2 solo shots were off Corey Seager's bat. I assume, based on the Rowdy Tellez conversation, we have interest in O'Neal Cruz tonight at 5,500.
Yeah, definitely some interest because we talked about Taillon's struggle of power against lefties, and this guy brings in a lot of power. I wish he was a little cheaper. Like 5,500 still feels like pretty high price for O'Neal Cruz. Is like he's been good, but he hasn't been great. And I think there's still a lot of holes in his bat. And so like there's some volatility here, but obviously the upside's huge, especially in a matchup that we know some power can come through. So yeah, especially if you're stacking some of those other top end of this Pittsburgh lineup, you should probably be including Cruz in it.
Who's your favorite overall shortstop?
Ooh, favorite overall shortstop. That is a good question. I think it's probably Lindor, and I know that maybe that feels like a cop out because it's the top end, top price guy, but I haven't loved a lot of the top price guys anywhere else, and I just think Lindor is so talented. He's having such a good season. I think this is a good matchup for him. This is somewhere where I think paying up could be worth it because shortstop is thinner today than it is a lot of other days.
It is for sure. Bobby Witt on the early slate, Ellie De La Cruz on the early slate, Gunnar Henderson on the early slate, right? That'll do it.
Yes.
So I agree. I think Lindor is as well. I think Cruz is right there. You can punt with like a Brooks Lee. What was the Yankee?
Swanson has been hitting the ball super well recently. So
he has big game yesterday.
I like this cheap price for him still because when he gets going, like he's not going to keep hitting this bat. He's had a rough season, but this guy can hit.
195 ISO for right-handed bats against Jared Jones this year. So a lot of power allowed. Jared Jones has largely been a fly ball pitcher, so that could always come back to bite you. Let's finish this thing off with outfield, and I'm just gonna ask: Is Aaron Judge and Juan Soto too expensive for you?
I don't think they are today. And we talked the other day of I talked about Judge and Ohtani about being over 7K, and I don't think I really ever want to pay for it. I think this is a different scenario today where we're talking a smaller slate. There's less high-priced players, so there's less good options that I want to turn to, and I think the Yankees stack is far and away the best one today going against Jack Leiter, who I just don't trust at all. I really like this Yankees lineup, so it's somewhere that I can actually see myself paying both the 7,000 and 6,500 for Judge and Soto because I think they're a tier above any other options today.
And I'm just going to pivot if you can only pick one because you're constricted based on salary. Because I would say a lot of people start their lineup Gilbert Cole, right? I think that's going to be a very popular approach, just given how good they are and how kind of cheap they are for their talent. If you can only pick between Judge and Soto, do you have a lean? Is that silly? Is it just Aaron Judge by default?
I mean, no, I don't think it's silly because I think it depends on what money you have. If you can afford Judge, it's him for sure. But look, if you're trying to put one of them in your lineup, you probably want some other Yankees in there too. Like you're probably trying to pay for maybe a Jazz or a Stanton, getting Torres in there. These aren't cheap players. So in order to get a couple of the other ones in there, if you have to forego Judge and go Soto, I don't think that's crazy. It's tough to have a Yankee stack and not have Aaron Judge, but you can have 4 or 5 guys without him and still have a really, really good Yankee stack.
Agreed. Who are some of the other targets here in the 5K range? There's a lot of them. Obviously, we have the return of Tatis here at 51, Brian Reynolds at 52, Riley Green 53, Jaron Duran 62 has been incredible all year long on the field playing baseball. And then Cody Bellinger 57, Brent Rooker 50. So who are some of the other targets you like in the 5K tier?
Tatis definitely sticks out just hearing his return, like 5,100. This guy's not going to be this cheap hardly ever. So give me him now when he's 5,100 because we know that he can hit the ground running real quick. So give me the discount in one of the better stacks today also. And I think he really stands out in this 5K tier.
Dipping our toes into the 4K range, you mentioned Giancarlo Stanton. He has been very good. I am a large proponent of playing Giancarlo Stanton when he is going good. Is he as good a pivot off of a Judge or Stanton as you can get here in the out? Like it's seemingly
absolutely.
a no-brainer, right?
Yeah, no-brainer. He's hitting the ball super well right now. I think under 5K, like with the power he has and how he's hitting the ball recently, if he's not on a team with Soto and Stanton or Soto and Judge, he might be higher price. Like I feel like getting a little overlooked because he's on the team with those guys. So yeah, 4,800, absolutely. Pivot to Stanton. He's got great power and a great matchup.
Who are some of your other favorite targets in the 4K range, Henry?
Yeah, I think there's some good ones. I like Nimmo, who's been hitting the ball well, obviously. Jackson Merrill, definitely one of my favorites. Again, really like the Padres stack today. And this dude just continues to crush and continues to be somehow not over 5K. I don't understand. I feel like it should be an over 5K player. He's just so good.
Yeah, I don't have anything else to add there. He is just so good. All the rookie Jacksons are just so good.
True.
Eventually, Holiday will get there, but Merrill and Chorio, who hit a grand slam earlier today, will
all three are going to be future All-Stars. Like
yes, for sure,
right.
for sure, surefire All-Stars. Going down the 4K rabbit hole here, Weiler Abreu hitting second, JJ Bleday hitting third at $4,000. This is the interesting part about Oakland, that they just keep messing with Lawrence Butler's price.
Yeah.
There's just no world where he is this. There's just no world that his price is dipping. After this stretch, he was 3,700. And then it is having a Jeremy Lin run again for the second time this year. And he's back to third. I mean, that's what is intriguing. Going back to the comment we had earlier from Chris, we're like, that does at least make you a little bit intrigued on playing Oakland because you can get them for so cheap.
Totally. That's the main reason here. Because again, big Logan Gilbert fan. He's my favorite pitcher today. I think he's going to do well against Oakland. There's still no world where he should be 3,700 right now. Like, I don't care who he's facing. This is too cheap. Like, the only reason I won't have him in my lineup is because I am starting Logan Gilbert. But I feel like if you're not starting Logan Gilbert, this is too cheap to not put him in your lineup, right? The upside's just so high still.
Sometimes, man. Sometimes the pricing. Yeah. I don't know. Jesse Winker hitting fourth for some more value, I think is interesting. Matt Wallner hitting fourth.
Well. Yeah, I think both those guys, lefty-righty matchups, bring in some power this cheap are great options.
Keep going down. PCA continues his assault on baseballs. He has been amazing since an adjustment he made at the minor league level and then got called up and hasn't slowed down since. He's hitting eighth tonight. That hasn't really deterred him from being great. Kepler hitting sixth. Trevor Larinack hitting second, 3,100 is a pretty good value. Is there anyone else that we're missing here that you'd be interested in?
No, I think you pretty much hit them all. These Twins feel too cheap. Like Kepler and Larinack, like 3,300 and 3,100 against Littell seem way too cheap to me. I know like those bats haven't been insane or anything, but they've been decent. And this is crazy cheap against a pitcher who struggled against lefties. So seems wild to me.
Justin has a comment. I like Cubs. Well, I also do. I mean, it's hard not to like the Cubs when you see what they're doing as a team. They don't lose. We didn't really talk much and we'll just click here. We didn't really talk many of their outfielders. They have 4 listed. Seiya is 49. He's on fire. Ian Happ is 47. He's on fire. Would you give either of those two guys, or even Bellinger? I mean, I feel like you probably not playing Bellinger when you could just play the cheaper options here, but like,
yeah, Bellinger's too high price. Again, we talk about Jared Jones to struggle with the righties more actually, and so 5,700 is so high. But under 5K, like getting Suzuki and Happ, and yeah, if you want to throw Pico Armstrong in there, I think all pretty decent options. Happ's my favorite, but all 3 are viable.
All 3 are definitely viable. Let's get a lineup built for all those tuning in. We appreciate you guys on this Monday evening supporting the show. It is about 1 hour until roster lock. What's the best first baseman? Don is back. Don is back on his bull-ish, and he is back in the chat with a new picture again. Don looking fresh in your picture there. Best first baseman for GPPs over on DraftKings.
I mean, I said it. I love Rowdy Tellez. He's one of your cheaper options, but I just think he's a great play at first today.
Agreed. 3,100 per dollar. I against Jameson Taillon, who's had massive struggles against lefties, and if you like, it's like that's been a continuing thing for Jameson Taillon. It's not just like a this year thing. Last year against lefties. Actually, you know what? Last year against lefties, 248 ISO. So he's actually gotten a little better, 191, but still 191 ISO is still not good. So definitely like Rowdy Tellez. Don, hopefully that answers your question. And if anyone else has any questions, please make sure to put them in the chat. Henry and I will get to them before we get out of here. If you guys would be so kind, please like the video. Please subscribe to the Fantasy Alarm YouTube channel. We'd appreciate that. And with the fantasy football season, NFL Week 1 right around the corner, you guys can get the Fantasy Alarm month of All Pro for just $20, less than $20 using code Let's Go, or you just scan the QR code right there. Go to fantasyalarm.com/win using code Let's Go for the All Pro subscription for the month. And that will get all of Henry's playbooks, all of my playbooks. I'll be on the playbook tomorrow over at fantasyalarm.com. All the NFL playbook will be out this weekend for Week 1, all the showdown stuff and all that good stuff. So head over to fantasyalarm.com/win if you're not an All Pro subscriber already. All right, Henry, let's get into the lineup builds. You have staked your claim. Logan Gilbert, SB1 today.
Yep. I'm sticking with it. I'm pro Gilbert.
Pro Gilbert. What's your SB2? Now, I guess you have been very fond of the Yankees. So I'm assuming we're going to have to spend down to Simeon Woods Richardson. I'm assuming that's going to be our approach, right?
Yeah, I think, I like Musgrove if you want to go like higher end pitcher, but I do like getting to spend on the offense and think that Simeon Woods Richards at 6,500 is a good deal.
So we're definitely punting here, Miguel Amaya. I think that was like set in stone from the moment you started talking catcher.
Totally.
Do we want to double spend on Yankees? What's your approach here on what we can obviously pivot to Stanton. We can obviously go to Jazz. You like Gleyber Torres at second in a shallow position. Like, what are your core? Give me your core 3 Yankees tonight.
I think you got to give me Torres leading off. And I think you have to have one of the top 2. I would love to try to build a lineup where you could go 1, 2, 3 here. I don't know if it's possible. We could try it, but like if you can do that, I think if you can't, pivot Judge to Stanton.
Well, we'll go Rowdy Tellez at first.
Yeah,
that's been obviously your bread and butter. The spend up to the spend down to Rowdy Tellez. Who are some you like the Twins here as like value outfielders?
Yeah.
Is there any one particular?
Probably Trevor Larnach. He's been the better one while being the cheaper one and batting second.
The cheaper one. Right.
Yeah.
While being the cheaper one. Yeah. All right. So 3,700. This feels way more doable now than it did. Getting both Judge and Soto into the lineup. What do you think of these last two positions, like, are there any spend downs? I mean, Dansby Swanson's 37. We have Brooks Lee 2,900 that we could play at either position. We have the Donovan Solano 2,600 play. We can go to. So like, what's your like? I see through you. That's what I kind of agree with too.
Yeah,
I kind of think it's just based on the spot.
I think so too. Batting third, he's so cheap, and then that gives us some more money to puts you in a weird spot of shortstop actually there. But I mean,
It does
yeah,
put us in a.
I like you could go Volpe, but I feel like I'd almost just rather go Dansby Swanson. But then we've got a bunch of money to play with. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. And I guess that could.
You could pivot off of what are our outfield options with at the 4,200 range if we go off of Larnach?
I mean, we could technically stay with Twins because we have Wallner 3,800. We'd only have a couple hundred. We have Winker obviously in a decent spot against Bayo, who has struggled against lefties. I mean, if you do the Wallner, we're still sticking with a top half of Minnesota lineup here.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't hate that. I think there's a lot of good options there you could turn to. You obviously, can't go Blade, but yeah, I don't hate Wallner. I think Winker's a really good option too. Pick a poison.
BZ is in here saying Torres over Suzuki. Torres. Sorry, I was reading another message here. Torres over Stanton.
It's an interesting question because in a vacuum, which player I think might score more?
Giancarlo.
Stanton, but position-wise, I don't like the options at second base compared to Torres. Outfield, there's a lot of good options you can turn to off of Stanton. So like if it's just one or the other, Stanton. But like position-wise, which one's more likely to end up in my lineup is probably Torres.
Agreed. I think like you said, it's a strict positional play there. Like Glaber is the better. I mean, there's a lot of value in the outfield that doesn't really exist at second.
Exactly.
Brooks Lee, I'm assuming was the play here. I also agree. We could have went Lee and Seiya.
Yeah, I think that would be a great one too.
Yep. So yeah, I like this lineup. Gilbert, Woods, Richardson, Miguel Amaya, Rowdy Tellez, Gleyber Torres, Donovan Solano, Dansby Swanson, Aaron Judge, Juan Soto, Matt Wallner. $400 left over if you wanted to play around with your lineup or change things like IC3 you mentioned, with some pivots into maybe some more Cubs or whatever stack your preference is. We will be back tomorrow with the preview show. Henry and I will be. Make sure you guys go over to the X Machine and follow Henry at Henry13 Wilson 13 and follow me at _real_Grande. Again, head over to fantasyalarm.com and buy the All Pro subscription that will get you all these MLB DFS playbooks, that will get you the NFL playbook that's going to be up on site for week 1, the Showdown playbooks that are out for Thursday, this week, Friday, Sunday, Mondays, you name it, we'll have it for all your DFS coverage. And you'll also get some betting coverage over there too for baseball and for football, and soon to be basketball and hockey right around the corner. So big salute to Henry. Big salute to you guys in the FA Nation for tuning in and watching every single day. We appreciate you guys. And again, we'll be back nice and early tomorrow morning